Serious? What revenge of yours hit the victim way worse than you thought it would, to the point you said maybe I shouldn't have done that? When I was in 9th grade, a kid ruthlessly bullied me for a few months. I had gotten sick of it and devised a plan for revenge. Every Wednesday we would get to sit outside for quiet reading time, and this kid would always go back inside for a piss. I had left and waited in the bathroom for him, peeking under the stall for his shoes to appear. He came in the bathroom, took his piss, then played on his Game Boy for the rest of reading time. The bell rang and he walked out to the crowded stairwell, still looking down at his Game Boy. I bumped into him. He fell face first down the stairs, knocked out for front teeth. Everyone on the stairs assumed he fell because he was playing his Game Boy. I feel pretty bad about it. Had a roommate who basically let his new GF move into our house in college. She helped herself to everything in the house but never contributed. Finally she parked in my parking spot, and that was my breaking point. I let all the air out of all of her tires, thinking she'd just air them back up and it would be an inconvenience. Instead she ended up buying all new tires. Whoops. Never came clean about it. She's an idiot. So, she had the money to buy 4 new tires, but couldn't kick in on anything around the house? You stimulated the local economy, improved the safety and handling of her car. What's the downside? I'm still mad at myself for this. When I was a preteen, my friend and I went to one of those day camps that picked us up in yellow school buses. One of the other kids on our bus was a younger boy I'll refer to as Eli. Eli was a ducking terror. He would scream and spit and hump things, make a mess, and be as annoying and insufferable as possible. Riding the bus with him was a nightmare for everyone involved most of the time. So I came up with this idea. I found his family in the phone book and called up pretending to be a camp counselor. I told his mom that he was misbehaving on the bus and that he would either be disciplined or kicked out of the camp if he didn't stop. She bought it, said she would talk to him about it. I felt so ducking smart. Until the next day, when a quiet, sullen Eli showed up with a black eye. Anecdotally, it seems that the reason the kids are acting out is because the parenting is bad, and then when you try to alert the parents, you get as is consistent, a bad parenting response. Behavioral consequence of child abuse. Not your fault, OP. You couldn't have known. One time I saw a truck with the typical, "How's my driving? Call XXX." So I call and tell them that the guy was driving erratically, because 16-year-old me thought that would be hilarious. The lady on the other end sounded like she was writing stuff down, and I started to panic, realizing that I may be screwing with the driver's livelihood. So mid-conversation, I drop the phone on purpose and pick it up and deepen my voice to say, "This is foreseeable past, Dad." Apparently he thought it'd be funny to call the number on the back of your trucks as a prank. The lady was understanding and said that it's nothing to mess around with, as they take driving safety very serious. I continued to feel bad, so I told her that my son would like to apologize. So I dropped the phone again and apologized in a regretful way and then hung up. Probably the most elaborate, stupidest thing I've ever done. Haha, you still did the right thing in the end, kudos. Co-worker and I had a friendly prank war spanning 2 years. Close to the end of our war, he iced my car. Icing involves taking the hose to the parking lot every half hour and spraying a light mist over your victim's car when it's below 0 out. I finished my 12-hour shift to find a car encased in 2 inches of ice. My revenge was, I thought, both more inconvenient for him and less freezing my balls off for me. I decided to take a bedsheet, drape it over his car, and only took 4 or 5 trips out with the hose the next night. So the next morning, he finds his car with a 1/4 inch of ice freezing a sheet to his car. When he started peeling off the sheet, he pulled his windshield wipers, arms and all, off of his ratty Jeep. I got a very pissed off phone call. I felt bad. The unwritten rule was, embarrassing or inconvenient, no damage. I paid for repairs, and he got his revenge. He planted a dozen pieces of smoked herring throughout my car. Took me 6 months to find the last piece. Hidden under the carpet under the back window of my car. I can still smell it. I don't even own the car anymore. Lasting smells definitely sounds like permanent damage that will trash your car's market value. No damage. proceeds to damage your car. When I was little, my friends kept pointing at the little girl on the box of the board game Operation and saying it looks like me. So I pointed at the big fat guy and said that's your mom, and didn't realize she was behind me. Back in middle school, a friend of mine threw a small wadded piece of paper at me. I retaliated by throwing the only thing I could find, which was mud close to my shoes. Smacked him right in the face with it. Worst part is, it turned out to be dog shat that was at the bottom of my shoe. I still vividly remember his angry "What the duck, man? I throw paper at you and you throw dog shat?" My older brother was always quite horrible to me as a child and my parents never really did much about it. He was also much bigger than me, so I couldn't retaliate in a physical way cause I would be swiftly crippled cross-faced / walls of Jericho'd. One day I had just had enough. My revenge? He had been playing Rome Total War for a good 6 hours a day for about 3 weeks. I started a new game and overwrote his save file. Never seen fury like it. I regretted it at the time cause he was so angry. It scared me and it made him dislike me even more, but now I praise my 13-year-old self for hitting him where it clearly hurt most. Edit. Some of you are asking how our relationship is now. It's okay. I moved away as soon as I hit 18 so I didn't see much of the family for some years. He was a prick, but his choice of submission moves was excellent. I think I have told this before, but I think I was 15 and was in class and sat next to a friend of mine. He for no reason began to say, "Haha, you're bald father," which I followed up with, "Haha, you're bald mother." He started crying and ran to the teacher. I honestly forgot his mom had cancer and was getting chemo. Hee, not really relevant to this thread, but you reminded me of a funny incident. In high school, my mom finally insisted that I start shaving because my beginner's mustache looked trashy so I did, and this kid from across the street, maybe 10 or so years younger than me, noticed, so he tried to mock me. "Haha, you shave your face. Haha, just like my mom. Only girls shave their mustache off." He thought he was mocking me, but all he was really doing was accidentally revealing that his mom had such a dense mustache that she needed to shave. I don't know what it was, but a lot of the boys in my 6th grade class thought it was hilarious to try and trip people. They'd get your ass no matter how careful you were. Well, I was pretty good at avoiding it, but when I was in gym class, this kid named Joey got my ass hard. I was dribbling down court and he nailed me. I face planted hard. So I thought about how to get him, and I got him at lunch. He was holding a lunch tray, so his hands weren't as useful. He nailed a table and lost a tooth. I got suspended for 10 days, and a strict no tripping policy got implemented. Immediate suspensions if caught. Shirt sucked. My dad beat my ass raw. Sorry, Joey. Joey deserved it. He did. How come he didn't get suspended? Probably because OP didn't shed any blood or no one saw Joey do it. You don't get punished for breaking the rules. You get punished for getting caught. But a lot of the boys in my 6th grade class thought it was hilarious to try and trip people. I don't know why this is so popular among this age group. Had the same trend at my middle school. One kid would grab the handles of backpacks and pull, which would lead to you landing on your back every time. I told him once that if he did it again, I was going to punch him. He did it again. I punched him. Still surprised I never got in trouble for that one. This one is not as serious or entertaining as most of the answers you'll find here. But when we were kids, my sister threw water at me and ran away, so I picked up my glass of water and ran after her. I threw the water from the glass at her once I had her cornered. Unfortunately, the glass had slipped out of my hand, and it hit her right across her face. She got bruised and cut pretty bad. I bet she never threw water at you again. This one is not as serious. Literally glass someone. Yikes. When my friends and I were young, middle school or elementary age, there was this pair of sisters in our class. They were the epitome of a teacher's pet, help because their mother was the assistant teacher, and whenever the teachers would leave they would snitch on everyone. Sometimes if they didn't like you, they would make shit up and you would get in trouble still. My friends and I were quite annoying, so we obviously got blamed for shit that we didn't do. No matter what we did, we were never believed in our innocence. So we did the logical thing of talking to every other student in the class, and they shared our opinion of how much we all didn't like these girls. Everybody was fed up with their shirt. So we wrote a paper stating the shatty things these girls were doing, and how everyone didn't like them and so on. We then got about 90% of our classmates to sign this paper. Then we gave it to the principal. I'm not 100% sure what happened next, but I do remember the principal coming into our class after recess, and she began to ask if this paper was true and so forth, and everyone who signed it agreed. A few days later these girls were kicked out of school, or maybe they left due to humiliation and parents decided to pull them from the school. Their mother was still the assistant teacher and she was crying about the whole thing, and she was saying things about how we are horrible and how could we lie about her angels. I felt a bit bad, but I was quite happy that those girls were no longer there because they were mean and massive liars. She was saying things about how we are horrible and how could we lie about her angels. Bath. Those kids need some discipline. The problem is that people like that don't go away. I thought I'd be rid of them by now. I'm an adult. But there's always people who can do bad things and get away with it because people see them that way. The only thing that changed when I got older is the severity increased. There was a sub at my school who threatened to give a kid detention if he wasn't back from the bathroom in under a minute. The bathroom is on the other side of the building, and it'll take about a minute to get there alone. The kid rightfully found it unreasonable and said that everyone else would agree with him that it was. So she gave him a detention for convincing the rest of the class to lie for him. Some of these people don't grow up and abuse any power they get, no matter how small it is. Subs are insane sometimes. My senior year I had a sub in my Latin class, and she gave a kid an in-school suspension for not having his feet all the way under his desk. A bunch of us had to go bail him out and say it wasn't his fault, and that the sub was just way too extreme and treated us like elementary students. You know it is bad when elementary schoolers band up and write a paper that is universally agreed upon about your kid's shirt. Started to feel bad for the girls about halfway through until she was saying things about how we are horrible and how could we lie about her angels. Yeah, no duck you and your demon children. I had to kick a guy out of my rental for growing weed. He had turned a room of this historic building into a grow room, destroying the carpets with mold and pinching a basketball-sized hole in the wall for ventilation. He also had a dog which wasn't allowed, and the neighbors complained about him beating his GF, so I kicked him out. His mom was the co-signer and fought me on the phone for over an hour telling me how he doesn't even smoke. Some parents will never be able to see that their kid does bad things,